Hello, I'm Steven, and I'm going to show in this video how you can analyze a website to see if there's any images that are slowing it down or any other issues that perhaps should be addressed. I'm using page speed.web.dev, and with this tool you can just type in a URL and click Analyze, and then I'm going to go to, I have a few other tabs I've already analyzed here. You can pick between mobile and desktop. When you click that, it comes up with different scores because there's quite often different code that's executed for mobile sites versus desktop sites, and so there are two different tabs. But here I'm going to be just mainly focusing in on the desktop. I've got a few sites I'm going to compare with. So first up is my website with the newsletter page. I actually just made that page this morning. So we can see the SEO says it is pretty good, but there's something going on with it there. So it says images do not have an alt attribute, so that means I would need to go in there and then make sure that all the images I added to that page have an alt text to them. That way if someone was using a screen reader, or if just for Google's purposes when it's indexing, it would want to know what the image is about, so the alt would give that information. And accessibility, it's got some issues there, so the alt again bringing that up. And it says the links don't have a discernible name, so I wanted to take a look at the links that I have in there and make sure that the name makes a bit more sense and does better there. And performance, it's got a 70, which not horrible but not good either. So it says the first content paint is the second, and it marks it as a green. It says there's some layout shift. Now that's unfortunate because I'm using Odoo to host that site, and there's probably not going to be too much I can do about that. There's the layout shifts there, and it shows you what's shifting there. So it's the item at the bottom. Now if I was really worried about this, perhaps I would do something different with that bottom section. Maybe try formatting it differently, and if that didn't work, just try a different building block, and we could get that out of there. And yes, you can see it's definitely that one is specifically so I do see an issue there too. I did a bigger than normal image on that fourth one there, that try 100 times image. And if you look at the size of the image in here, see if it says in the URL there. I don't see, but we're going to look at this later here in a bit. That's a bigger size image that I uploaded, so probably I'd want to resize that, make it a bit smaller, and that in and of itself would probably help that jumping around so we don't get that shift happening. All right, so back up. Let's find what I was saying about the image here. So this is the image. This is largest contentful paint. Image was lazily loaded. So lazy loading is a good thing. The bad thing is it was the largest one. That isn't a very important picture on the page, and I uploaded the picture without downsizing it. So that's something I should fix if I wanted to make this page a little better on the performance side of things. And then we would not have that shifting. And the shifting is annoying, especially if a page with links on it. And thinking of one website in particular now, it has a header right here and then some links here. The page loads and then the header loads a couple of seconds after. And I just, every time I go to use that page, I click a link here and that header pops up and then I click a different link. So it's very annoying. So that's why content shifting can be important. It can annoy people. If it's just a little bit and they don't have time to click on things, it may not be as big of a deal. And again, so 80-20 rule is probably going to apply. I may not go and fix this right away. I probably should eventually, but it's about what's going to bring the most results for the time I expend, and so you have to find that balance. But this page is okay overall. Odoo did a pretty good job of them reminding me to add in the metadata. It's just I missed on the images there, so that would probably be a good one to go fix. And this tool unfortunately doesn't scan the whole site, so if I wanted to say scan my home page, you'd have to click analyze and do, it's just one page at a time, but it's still a good tool for that. Alright, I have another example. There's a website for a farm. Now this one's also hosted on Odoo, and right now we're looking at the mobile view there. So SEO is 100, best practice is 100, accessibility is 90. Links do not have a discernible name, so there's some links that we need to look in there and see if there's a fix for that. And performance is kind of low. First content paint, largest content, 12 seconds. That is a long time for a content paint. So going in here, also it's that ginormous image in the background. So to fix this one, maybe we don't want an image on the home page. That would make it faster. maybe you could do something different like a tile. Maybe you could do a gradient. Uh, Perhaps just scale the image size down. I'd have to look and see how big the image is. But that's what I could do there. But that one's probably a big enough a deal that'd be worth taking a look at. 12 seconds is a long time. So that means that they're going to load the page, and it doesn't look like it's doing a shift, so Odoo must be doing a good job at, in this case, of having placeholders until that image gets loaded. But having 12 seconds to load time is quite big, so that'd be worthwhile taking a look at. On desktop, it did load faster, so 2.3 seconds. Not great, but still was a bit of time. We'll move on. This is another website. So the previous two were hosted in Odoo, which is an open source ERP. But this one is hosted on a static web page through Cloudflare using Jekyll to generate those HTML pages. So the advantage with that, Jekyll is, assuming you don't do something silly with images or videos, is very fast because it's pre-rendered. Your web browser doesn't have to do anything, and so you can see it's really up there on the performance. The content paint is zero layout shift. This is the Jekyll magic of pre-rendered code and HTML. It's already rendered. There's nothing dynamic there. It's just there. So does make an amazingly fast website. Follow the best practices. SEO wasn't as good, probably because Jekyll wasn't configured right. So I see the links are not crawlable. So that would be go in here and figure out how those links should be formatted to follow best practices. And since it's Jekyll, that would probably be a code change. So this is now the con of Jekyll. Sometimes things aren't as set up, and so you'd have to adjust that. All right, we have another website here. This one again is a Jekyll hosted one, or Jekyll generated one. So you got performance, best practices. It's doing pretty good. The SEO wasn't as good, and so missing some meta descriptions. Since it was Jekyll, you'd have to go in there and edit the template or edit the code that generated that to make sure that that makes those. So this was a really fast look into how I would use the page speed insights tool and just see how a page is. If I was, for example, running a blog post and I wasn't sure if the images need adjusted, I'd probably publish it and then just run it through the tool, very much like how I did with this newsletter one that I showed at the beginning. I just made it, so I'd run it on the tool and, oh, okay, maybe I got to fix the links, and that image was kind of big, so I probably should size that down. So this is a good way to look after the fact and see what's going on with your site and how it's seen from the outside. Once you look at a site on your machine, it will be cached, and so it may load really fast. And so sometimes it's easy to forget that for the first time when someone hits a site, it's going to have a different loading time because the caching will not be there in the same way. So this is a super useful tool. And if you want to learn anything more about Odoo and its website builder, I do have a really fast how can you make a website with Odoo video that you can go see as well.